because I didn't have boundaries and because I did everything for everybody. And oh, Margaret will keep the peace, and Margaret won't say anything. And when I did, and when I did at work, people were like, "Oh my gosh, did Margaret just, did she just stand up for herself?" And they didn't look at it that way. They were mad, proud. They were annoyed because they were like, what the heck? So when I took back control, which I don't even know that I ever had, I decided, as I get older, I'm like, what am I waiting for? Even in a work environment.
Welcome to another episode of Take Back Your Life, Conversations with Shay, where we help women overcome toxic thoughts, feelings, people, and situations by understanding and embracing their true identity in Christ in order for them to thrive and live a successful life. Today we have a guest, Miss Margaret Graham, Managing Director / owner of Star Capital Properties. And I am so excited to have Margaret on today because we're talking about toxic work environments. But before we get into that, please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, comment, and share. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, make sure to hit the follow. Margaret is my friend who I met, 5 years ago?
Probably, yeah.
Probably 5 years ago. We worked together at one point in time, and we developed a friendship. But not only is Margaret my friend, she's also a new business owner, and she also overcame a toxic work environment, and she did this in a deliberate and planned and efficient way. Margaret, along with being my supervisor, became my friend, which that doesn't happen often.
No.
Because you have that whole relationship thing that you normally want to keep at work. And sometimes the dynamics kind of make it a little difficult to do the job correctly when you develop a friendship with your superior. But if you could introduce yourself or tell us a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Okay, I'm Margaret Graham, as Shayla said, and we did work together. And she says I was her supervisor. However, I feel like she was just my team member because that's what I like, the way I like to look at it, even as a supervisor or as someone who, like, she assisted with me with a lot of things. I still, even my current job, my assistant is my team member. And I just like to say that I just feel like it's a better portrayal of what everyone is. It was very easy to have a relationship with Shayla because of her faith. And we were both very open about that, which I think was nice. And that's hard to do in a workplace. It's very hard to do in a workplace. But when you know and you get that feeling from someone, it makes it so much easier to work there and to be yourself with that person.
If you could share us a little bit about your background.
My background?
Yes.
So I have a financial background, like we administer 401k pension plans. So it's a very detailed, number-driven compliance industry. Lots of deadlines because you're dealing with the Department of Labor and the IRS. You try to have your clients avoid penalties for anything that they may be doing wrong or late, or if they need money back or that kind of thing. So that's what we do. Even though I have 20 years experience, over 20 years in this industry. I fell into this when I was, I'll be honest, I really wanted to be a graphic designer. So I'm a very creative person. So doing financial stuff is not extremely creative. And our industry is not creative, but so that's what I wanted to do. However, I wound up going right to work after high school, was a secretary and executive assistant and wound up in the financial field and just became a 401k administrator, became a junior administrator and then a regular account manager. So that's where I started. So I worked my way up on, and got my QKA, which is a qualified 401k administrator designation. So that really helped me progress as well in the industry.
So for those of you who may be questioning why I asked Margaret to come on and talk to us about toxic work environments, is because I watched Margaret personally. First of all, working in finance is difficult, and it's a very stressful environment, period, on every level. You can be in banking, you could be in stock market, you could be, doing 401k administration.
Yep, anything.
When you're dealing with money, other people's money, it's a very stressful environment. So to add on top of that, working around people who makes the environment, or toxic people who make the environment, even more stressful,
right,
is an extra layer. And I watched you navigate through that, and I watched you, go to work every day and put in 100%, sometimes 150%. If we have 50 extra percent, it went in, and work hard to make deadlines and be underappreciated. And one of the main reasons I learned in one of my business courses, one of the main morale boosters in the workforce is showing appreciation to your employees. It's not even, financial raises. The first thing is showing appreciation. And when you have to go into a 9 to 5 every day, where you already said that you're a creative person, you wanted to do graphic design, but life kind of moved you into that position where you were able to excel and you were able to level up, but every level there's like an extra level of stress. But I watched you not quit from an emotional, I watched you not make an emotional decision and walk out. I watched you make a plan and be very deliberate in how you were going to exit that position and move on to another position. And then from that position, you are now an owner / manager of a new business venture. So I think that's, something very important, and it's an example to live by. So I took the liberty of looking up what some would describe a toxic work environment is, and they gave 5 points. And it's funny because I agree with these people. And I had several work environments where several of these points made my work life terrible. But one of them was having a boss that does not lead well and makes you feel worthless. That's one point that makes a work environment toxic. Another one is a constant negative atmosphere. No positive feedback for putting in effort. And then another is poor communication between different departments. How many times have we experienced this? I mean, when we worked together, that was a major red flag. Another point of contention is a workplace that doesn't appreciate their team and they do not put their employees first. And the fifth indicator is a workplace that allows negativity or negative people to continue to disrupt other people's jobs and attitudes.
Correct.
Would you agree with those points?
100%.
Would you have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add, but I agree with it. I mean, the support. I'm a very big proponent of support. And I'm a very big proponent of positive as much as possible, as you know, I hope. Because negativity brings everybody down. No lack of support brings everybody down, and you don't trust people after a while. I totally agree. Okay.
I agree also. But what role of faith,
Mm.
I guess, did faith play in you being able to overcome some of the toxicity at work and then deal with your everyday life and finally decide that it was time to move on, and then how you did it?
So faith always played an important part of my life, no matter what. I mean, even during this stressful time at work, I was going through so many personal, really extremely large personal things with my family. Um, that if I didn't have my faith, if I didn't have others to lean on, like Shayla, to ask for prayers, which I know she prayed, and I know I have a really strong prayer group of ladies who I have constant contact with still, personally, that they knew about my struggles. We still text all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and we asked to pray for each other. So I think it's
Mm-hmm.
really important. So my faith, I don't think I would handle it the way Shayla said I handled it, and I did handle it that way, but I don't think I would have been able to do that had I not had my faith. Because as much as I wanted to be that spontaneous, get in your face, say you're horrible people over there at wherever I worked, they're not horrible people, but that's the human nature to say, you're messing with me, but I said it in a different way. Um, I did call them out on it and stuff, different things that you have to, because even before this job, another job was the same way. And I don't know if it's dealing with women,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you, because that really has a big part of it,
Mm-hmm.
who don't look at it as a team sport, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, whether you're a supervisor or not, if you act that way and you act in that supervisor role not as a team player, then I mean, I went through it before, and so my faith played a real big part of it. It always did. And when I felt that I was being, I don't know how to describe it, like I felt less of a person,
Mm-hmm.
maybe,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I wasn't that squeaky wheel. I wasn't that person who complained all the time. I took on a lot, and that's what as I get older, I'm learning not to do that as much, but
Mm-hmm.
that was my nature. When you confide in people too, who you think, and um, in a work environment, who you think you can confide in, and then they go and take that confidence and, like, for instance, I'm not going to be exactly example, but a client said to me, well, I know what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have all this other stuff on your plate. And I was like, and this wasn't Shayla who did this, but I was like, what? Like, I can find someone who I thought I could.
Yeah.
And I was like, this person, my client, said to me, well, I know why you didn't get to this because you're going through a lot, but still. And I'm like, that is not an excuse. And I would never use my personal
Mm-hmm.
life as an excuse. But someone who I confided in the workplace did, to this other person. And that hurt. So at that point, I shut down.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I think we can add that as another indicator
Yeah,
of a toxic work environment,
right,
is lack of trust,
right. Lack of
and
trust. Hmm.
and coupled with, you know, we worked in an environment where it was, when we worked together,
Hmm.
it was a very small office environment, and word got around quickly.
Yeah,
So you couldn't confide in anyone. It was difficult to confide in anyone without your business per se being passed along to other people. And the example you used, it wasn't just passed along to the people who we worked with, it was passed to a client that shouldn't know anything about anyone's
no,
personal life.
totally.
So I think that was a boundary that was crossed. But I do want to ask you, when did you realize that you were ready for a new career transition, and how did you arrive at the decision to take back your life? Because
So, yeah.
I'm asking that because it sounds like not only were you in multiple work environments that were toxic, but you also were able to eventually look inward to see why you were attracted, or why you basically were attracted to toxic work environments, and how people, you know, in environments where people belittled you and
Hmm.
in a sense could bully you or
Hmm.
um, treat you poorly. Like, I think a lot of it has to do with boundaries, and this is my perspective, boundaries that we set and standards that we set, but we oftentimes don't get to that point until later on. And it sounds
Right.
like from listening to what you said, you realize like a lot of it, was you had to do some things different. So at what point did you decide that?
At the point of where I got tired of feeling underappreciated, I got tired of people not respecting my boundaries. Um, and honestly, and I think it's important to get that personally in your own life as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I struggled with that with my family and things, and you know, I was pretty much walked all over in my family because I didn't have boundaries and because I did everything for everybody. And oh, Margaret will keep the peace, and Margaret won't say anything. And when I did, and when I did at work, people were like, "Oh my gosh, did Margaret just, did she just stand up for herself?" And they didn't look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
They were mad, proud, they were annoyed
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, what the heck? So when I took back control, which I don't even know that I ever had, I decided, as I get older, I'm like, what am I waiting for? Even in a work environment, because so I specifically said what I was upset about.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's big
Mm-hmm.
because I don't like confrontation. I
Mm-hmm.
don't like to ruffle people's feathers. I don't want people to be mad at me. I don't want them to think less of me.
Mm-hmm.
But standing up for yourself doesn't mean all those things. But I never had that mindset that standing up for yourself um meant I always thought it meant all those things I just said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I finally said, I deserve to have what everybody else is talking about having, my peers. I said, I think I don't understand why I was left out of that situation. Um, and I found out on the side different things, and it was pretty interesting because my one peer, another person who said to me, um, "How did you set up your new cell phone or whatever?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "I didn't even get one." And she looked like she was a deer in headlights. Because I think at that point she realized, oh crap, I should have not said anything. Because
Mm-hmm.
because my face, I probably turned white because I'm like, I sort of knew this was all going on.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
was the clarification. Oh, it is going on,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So, and it was, I felt bad for her, but it wasn't her fault. Um, but I had it, and then I got almost like, okay, well, here you go, we'll give you one. I must have slipped my mind. I didn't realize, and that's what I was told. I didn't realize. Sorry, that's my dog in the background. I didn't realize you didn't get one, or I didn't realize you didn't have this access, or so sorry, we didn't realize. Thanks for bringing that up. I
Mm-hmm.
call BS on that. That I knew it was, and I could tell by the way the person was backpedaling. It's amazing to me. So, but when I spoke up, I sort of felt more powerful, on more, and especially the fact that they sort of felt awkward now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that I wanted them to feel awkward. That wasn't my that's never my intention for anyone.
Yeah. So because the cell phone is integral to that position, because you don't want to give out your personal number.
Right, because we were going remote at that
Yeah.
point, and and I think COVID, I mean, again, it changed the whole world, where not that I'm happy for COVID, but it did change a lot, even for me,
Yeah.
stand up for myself and say, I need that too.
You need, yeah, and like you deserve better. Like you get to a point in life where you have to decide, like you deserve better. You've put in the work. and you're an ethical person,
Right.
so you deserve at the very least, what everyone else in the position that you are in is getting. And if you're not getting that, then that means you're being treated as less than, and
Correct.
something needs to be corrected.
Correct.
So from that point,
Mm-hmm.
from you realizing that someone who was in the same position as you received a perk, which is actually not a perk,
Which
it
is
was a
needed.
requirement for the job, and you didn't receive it, was pretty much a turning point for you, where you started to put some plans in place to remove yourself from that situation because it was detrimental to toxic work environments are detrimental to our mental health.
Yes.
And because we're at work more than we're usually at home, if you don't work remotely, if you go in somewhere to work, you probably see your coworkers more than you see your family.
Yep.
So the lines begin to blur a little bit. And if you leave work feeling like crap, you're going to go home feeling like you're taking that home with you, that crappiness that you feel. And it's just a pile on until you learn how to set boundaries, and until you learn how to cut things off, until you learn how to say, no, I deserve this because it's I need it for my job, to do my job effectively. And the cell phone, you not getting one initially, seems like that was the turning point for you to I guess realize they really do think of me the way that I feel that they think of me, and I got to make some changes.
Right.
For our audience, what would you say are some healthy ways that you take care of yourself?
Work-wise or personal or everything?
Everything.
Everything.
Because as women, we tend to like mix everything.
We do. And that's, I think, that's how it can affect you. You know what? You could almost, not that you're making a toxic work environment, but you can take care of yourself by setting those boundaries in your personal life. Healthy boundaries, not to be mean, we all need boundaries. But you need to set those boundaries, and you need to stand up for yourself, and you need to say, if you want to say no, you say no to commitment or whatever it is. And that's okay. Because it does affect your family. Like we were just talking about, you bring all that home, whether I'm working remote or not, I'm still bringing it, downstairs from my office upstairs, or in the door from my office outside the home. So you are bringing it, and everybody knew, like, my husband always tried to try and, talk to me, and we talked about it, and he was like, he would encourage me, and, you got to say something, and he knew it was hard for me. So I did, and I take care of myself by praying, by by leaning on people who have that same mindset a little bit. We have a very diverse group of friends, but when you need those people to ground you, you got to know who they are, and you got to reach out to them, because they're there for you. Obviously taking care of yourself, exercising. I know that's cliche, but it's true. Even whether you're fit or not, I think just that movement, whatever it is, it could be a 10-minute walk. I do that through my workday. I have a dog, and I take her outside sometimes, or even if I don't take her out, I'll go for a 10-minute walk. That's my smoke break. I don't smoke, but people take smoke breaks or whatever. And you got to do those things to clear your mind, to try and enjoy your life. Just really dig into what's important, and setting boundaries. It's so big, I think. And for me, it's so big because, going back to my other jobs too, when I switched to a new job here and there, I did have one person say, it was my supervisor said, they do this kind of thing. They do these kind of plans, 401k plans, or they do these kind of calculations or whatever it is there. And she literally looked at me and said, "You're not going to be able to do it."
Mm.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
That was a long time ago, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that can just, I felt like garbage.
Yeah.
I'm like, why can't I learn how to do that? It's still in the industry. It doesn't even matter if it's in the industry. If that's what I want to do,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I learned this industry without even going to college. So, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
for someone to say that and insinuate that she was just mad I was leaving her.
Yeah.
And for someone to say that, it's like, you're not gonna be able to do it.
Yeah.
You're gonna be running back to us. And I'm like, what? And then when something else happened where something was merged in that another company and they merged with another bank, um, I got a letter and I walked in and I said, "What is this?" I was the woman who I trained to be another account manager,
Mm-hmm.
administrator. Now I was going to be her assistant.
Mm-hmm.
So I was being demoted with this merger.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in with the letter, and this person who said I couldn't make it any other place, she said, "Don't be mad at me." She did like a little kid voice and said, "Don't be mad at me," because she knew exactly what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Did you know about this?" She goes, "Well, it's what they had to do." And I said, "I've been here 10 times longer than this person. I trained her
Mm-hmm.
on my
Mm-hmm.
job, and now she's taking my job, and I'm going to be her assistant."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, if it was just a pattern, maybe because I was so weak at the time. I didn't have I wasn't weak. I'm not putting myself down.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that strong sense of, listen to me, this is what I'm feeling, and this is not right, and I never could do that
You,
until recently.
it's funny, if we knew what we knew, if we knew what we know now
Right.
when we were younger,
Hmm. I
we would
know.
be much further along. But it is it's funny you mentioned your husband pretty much being a backbone,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
saying like this is what you need to do
Right.
because you're being mistreated at work. I don't like to put all women in one category and all men in another,
Right.
because personalities mix.
Mhm.
There's not everyone is the same, but it's great to have someone that supports you, that
Mhm.
is that close to you as your husband,
Mhm.
that sees that you're being mistreated,
Yep.
and one's not piling on. He's not making you feel worse, right, for letting people treat you a certain way at work,
Right.
but he's trying to help you overcome the mistreatment. And it takes a little while for people who are a little more reserved. I wouldn't say weak, a little more reserved, and people who are a little more giving
Hmm.
to actually stand up for themselves. And we often need someone to say, no, you need to do XYZ because you're being treated poorly. And it's noticeable. It's
Right.
not, it's
Right.
not, confined to the work, to your office space. Like it's following
Oh,
you
it's
home.
very
And it's,
noticeable.
it's funny because most men can compartmentalize things, right? My husband's great at that.
Mm-hmm.
They can, go to work, turn work off when they leave work, come home and do family life and then do the friend life things.
Right.
And females, everything mixed together. Like we're like casseroles.
True.
We don't have like, you know, we got 4 pots. Men can have 4 pots on the stove and and spice one and mix another,
Yeah.
and we're like, let's just put it all in the same pot and throw it in the oven. It'll come out, in the wash, basically. So it's good to have someone, and for those of who may not be listening, who might not be married and might not have a male
Mm-hmm.
voice in their ear that's a healthy male voice. Like it's good to have some type of support to help you overcome some things that you lack, like the boldness that some people have to be able to go to a supervisor and say no, you're not going to treat me this way.
Correct.
It's good to have someone to help you, like, figure that out, like to plan that out. Like, my husband will sit down and want to write something out. Like, you should say this, and be very calculated. And it's it's not emotional.
Right.
We're not writing something, and we're not like pouring our emotions on this paper because
Right.
this is how we feel and this is how you made me feel and you're going to get it today, because that's what we would want to do. We would want to go into someone's office once the needle broke the camel's back
Mhm.
and like lash out on everybody.
Right. Right.
But if you have someone who is a little more sound, like as a support system in the background, to say, no, let's do this in a calculated fashion, so that your point is being brought up. You can bring your point, you can state your point without the emotional attachment to it, so that it's more valid. So it's awesome
Correct.
that you have your husband as a support. And for any woman that's listening who, like I said, not married and may not have a significant other, like, it's good, like, you got to have a good support system somewhere, like
Somewhere. And
friendships. Like,
yep,
you
that's
got
what I
to
was
have
saying.
someone
Hmm.
that is going to be able to balance you out, and and so, you're a little emotional. I'm here to balance you out a little bit, and know they're not treating you correct. They're not treating you fairly, but this is how we should go about this, so that you can keep your job. Like, the main reason most people who work need their jobs. Like, if we have full-time positions and we need the healthcare, we have families. We didn't inherit a bunch of money. We didn't, make our $1 million yet, right? We didn't become millionaires yet.
Yet.
So
Yet is
yeah,
the key word.
so we work these jobs because we're not retired, and we're going to work because we need something to do during the day.
No way.
So we try to make sure that we're on our P's and Q's at work. And that means not standing up for ourselves at times. And that's not true.
Right.
But we don't want to lose the job that we
Right.
have. But at some point, you got to make a decision, like, this job is affecting your mental health. And
Correct.
we got to start to navigate to transition out of this job. It's funny because I looked at careerplug.com because I was doing some quick research, and they questioned 500 people.
Hmm.
So a toxic work environment is not something that's unheard of. Out of those 500 people, 87% said that they have in their lifetime once or twice been in a toxic work environment. And out of those 500 people, 72% of those people quit their jobs because it was a toxic work environment. And 52% of those people plan on leaving their job because it's a toxic work environment. So, it's not that this is foreign. Like, we're dealing with people in these environments, and they're making the situation horrible for other people. And you got people who are up and quitting their jobs
Right.
because the environment's toxic, and management's not picking up on, what's going on. And not only that, it costs about 2.5 times your salary to bring on a new employee.
Wow.
So you would think that supervisors, owners, managers would try to make their work environment conducive for those who work for them. And but they tend to look at people as commodity. It's like I got you on, and if you leave, I'll just go find another person that can do your job. And like, a lot of people are underappreciated in their jobs, and that's why I wanted to talk about this in this episode, because we want to address issues of toxicity, but also learn from other people of how they remove themselves from toxic environments.
Yeah.
I see a lot of like TikTok videos and like younger people who leave jobs on a whim. You know, it's just, I don't like what they said to me, so I left. And, encourage people to do the same. And I don't agree with that wholeheartedly
Right.
because I'm an adult and I have a child and I have we got responsibilities. I do agree that you should not stay in a toxic environment, but I don't agree with just up and leaving unless the situation is dire, unless it's
Correct.
something that it happened that was so extreme that you just have to get out of there. But in most cases, I think you should plan to get out of there. You should put forth a plan to get yourself from
Hmm.
point A to point B. And you did that
I
two
did.
times over, right?
I
But
did
from
I did a couple times in my career. Yeah.
but lately, this last what from us being co-workers, you made a decision and you decided to leave and you found another job
I
and
found another job, same
then you put in
industry.
your 2 weeks, right?
I put in my 2 weeks, and yeah, and it's funny because like the added, I don't want to say attitude, and I don't, any of these people could come up to me now who I worked with, and I would be perfectly fine talking to them because that's just how
Mhm.
I am.
Mhm.
Um, I need to move on, so that's what has to happen. If they're not happy for that, or and of course they're going to be a little upset, but if they're totally upset about it, well, I can't help that, you know.
Mhm.
But I did make a plan, and also, like you said, we have responsibilities. Some people don't have to worry about it, but most people do.
Mhm.
And I have two children who are pretty much adult children who are still in college, who are still under my insurance.
Mhm.
Um, my
Mhm.
husband is out of work with an injury.
Mhm.
So I needed to make sure that I didn't just up and quit. I would never do that anyway. It's just not my nature.
Mhm.
So I made a plan, and I thought, let me just, with the encouragement of my husband,
Mhm.
help go out and look online. Um,
Mhm.
and really, I reached out to someone who reached out to me 2 years ago on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I know this job is probably not still available,
Mhm.
but if you have any other leads, let me know. And he got back to me with other leads.
Yeah.
So I sort of was empowered by standing up for myself, also to reach out to someone who originally I thought he's not going to have anything. And he's
Mhm.
the one who got me a job.
Yeah.
He was I don't say headhunter, but that kind of person on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
someone who gets people jobs. So in the industry. So I was able to go on interviews, and with COVID, everything was Zoom. So
Yeah.
I had more interviews packed into a little space of time than I would have had I gone in person.
Yeah.
Um, didn't need to buy all new clothes either, I get my top looking nice and whatever. But I landed that job and gave 2 weeks and started in a new year, and it was during Christmas. So really, like, anytime is a good time.
Yeah.
Don't think, oh, it's Christmas time. I mean, I had interviews the week before Christmas.
Yeah.
And I started right after, the holidays, like in the end of January. So, but I needed to move on too because of benefits. I needed
Yeah.
better benefits because of my husband's situation. So
Mhm.
taking that leap, whether you need it or not, is hard. And I was really nervous to say anything, but you got to take care of yourself as well.
You have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of that as well. You have to take care of yourself first.
First.
You ever heard of the analogy? If the plane's going down,
Yep.
they tell you to put on your life jacket before you help your neighbor.
Right.
That's the whole point of you got to take care of yourself first. And
Right.
a lot of times, often people that find themselves in like lifelong employment in a toxic environment, they're doing it because they're thinking I got to take care of myself as well, instead
Mhm.
of saying I got to take care of myself first. And once you decide that you are important, in order for you to take care of your family, you have to be healthy and you
Yep.
have to be mentally stable. So I got to take care of myself first. So I got to get out. I have to leave I got to get out of this environment and move on to something else.
Mhm.
And I got a plan to do so because I need a place that has insurance.
Right,
I need a certain salary to be able to,
that too.
maintain the lifestyle that we're living. You said you got 2 kids in college. That's a lot. I mean, I got a 6-year-old and he's burning money through our pockets and he's in elementary school.
And they both live, yeah, and they both live with us still. So they're
Yeah.
commuting and they both live with us. So it's like they're adults. We have roommates, but we don't. Like it's a
Yeah.
hard thing to navigate. So when you're in that, you're going through all that too, like work shouldn't be that stressful.
No, it shouldn't be that stressful because it's not, especially when it's not your passion. And you said that you're a creative person. So I wonder if that led to you venturing off to start Capital Properties
Yeah.
as your new business venture.
Eventually we all want to do our own thing. Some people do. I know I do.
Mhm.
I know you're an entrepreneur. And so my husband's always had an entrepreneur spirit and heart. And um, he introduced me to this seminar we went to, and it was in real estate. And um, he is going to get his real estate license soon. But being out of work, um, and all, he asked me to go with him because he can't do much because it's a foot injury. But that being said, we went and we thought, well, let's try it. And Star Capital Properties is, it's not art, it's not graphic design, like I said before, but it's interesting, and you're dealing with people, and um, it's a different kind of creative.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want me to say anything about what it is.
I would love for you to tell us about Star Capital Properties.
Star Capital Properties, we help investors grow their money by, they invest in multifamily properties, and you can yield high returns in that. So it's like a syndication model. And a lot of people in this industry know what that means. Syndication is you're syndicating um, investors. You're syndicating money from elsewhere. So we're not, we may be investing here and there, but we're really not. We're going to be the managers. We're going to be the general partners of the property, where I project out. And this is how, and honestly, like I say, I wanted to be a graphic designer, but now this Star Capital Properties, I need this financial background. I need to know how to do spreadsheets. I need to know checks, and I need to know profit and balance statement, which I know in the industry. So for Star Capital Properties, we're pitching to investors. We're saying we found this multifamily unit, wherever it is. We just were looking at one in um, Kansas City.
Okay.
And apparently that's a big upcoming place. So, and then North Carolina, we were looking at one. So what you do is you do projections. So your investors, anyone who want to invest, we help you get cash flow as well as a return on your money.
It's funny that your experience in finance, how that set you up for this business module that you and your husband are jumping into. So I think that's awesome. And it's funny how God works.
I agree.
Sometimes we got to go through the mud a little bit, and then we come out on the other side and say, "Oh, well, that was you, God."
Right.
So setting up spreadsheets and doing all the Excels and the and profit and loss stuff, like, unless you're in finance, you really don't know what that stuff is.
No.
I was in finance and I still don't know how to set up profit loss.
I know. It's tricky. It's tricky. Yeah.
But speaking of encouragement, since you talk about you have people who are around you that are you have like-minded people around you that are supportive, and that's encouraging. How would you encourage other women who might be experiencing some of the things you did in your life or your career?
I encourage people, so like Shayla said, if you don't have that husband or that male figure I'm grateful that I do, and I'm very lucky. I don't take it for granted ever.
Mm-hmm.
When I hurt, he hurts, and I can tell that in his heart, and that's why he encouraged me. He encourages me,
Mm-hmm.
but I encourage people to reach out and not be afraid. Try and get that group of women if you have to, whoever it is,
Mm-hmm.
either that are like-minded or who can encourage you. Like I said, I have my girls who I text, who if I need prayers, they will pray for me right then and there, and they'll put it in
Mm-hmm.
text or they'll call me.
Yeah.
Um, for me, faith, like I can't stress it enough. I couldn't get through without my faith
Mm-hmm.
and without my support group. Um, but in work, you got to just speak up, and it's not. I guess I can just encourage them saying, you need that oxygen mask on before you can help anybody else. And so you need to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's taken me a lot of years to learn that personally and professionally, but
Mm-hmm.
you need to help yourself. Like when we went to the seminar for this real estate, they asked us why we signed up. They said, congratulations, why did you sign up with us as a coaching program?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a very emotional person, and that's another thing I got to say. I with my jobs and stuff, when I go approach people and stand up for myself, I'm ready to cry because it's a lot, and I do, and I'm like, I can't cry in front of a boss. It looks weak, it looks whatever. So that's why it's so important to have those people you can go home and then just say, just let it all out. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
I think, but when they asked me why we did this, I said, we feel like we're drowning, financially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this seems like a good avenue for us to work together as a couple and have something for ourselves and generational wealth for our kids. But I feel like I need that oxygen mask because I feel like we can't breathe, and we need to get this oxygen mask on us
Mm-hmm.
so we can build generational wealth, and we can take care of everyone else like we want to. um, I just think you need to have people to lean on, and anyone who doesn't, reach out to me because I will help you, whoever you are. Like, I just think we need people, and I think we need encouraging people. It's interesting. I saw, and real quick, I won't keep you too long, but I saw and it was probably on TikTok or something, and it's called something like Be My Eyes, something like that. And it's an app. So there are a lot of blind people. So it's for mental, blind people who you can do this app and you can help them if they need to see about if they're cooking a meal,
Mm-hmm.
and they say, I'm cooking a meal, can someone help me figure out that I'm putting the right spices in, or I'm putting whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You as a stranger, and this could be a little bad and good, can go help them do that one thing.
Yeah.
They can reach out, just say, can someone, if they don't have anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and they say, I need to know what this pill bottle says, or I need. And this one girl said it's helped me tremendously. I'm only on this app. It's usually video,
Yeah.
and it's a couple minutes and you never see the person again, but they've helped you that one time.
Yeah. I think that is extremely um, important. And we were created to be in community.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult to get along in life in solitude.
Mm-hmm.
So to get out of what I heard from you was to get out of a toxic work environment and to change, to get out of a toxic work environment when you had to lean on your faith in God.
Yep.
Right.
First and foremost. Yeah.
Because when we are weak, God shows his strength. And
Mhm.
then you also have the support from your family and your husband, who encourages you to stand up for yourself, to set boundaries, to communicate efficiently. And then you have the support of a group of people around you that are like-minded and want to see you succeed.
Mhm.
And just like almost all things in life, that is the formula at least I always come back to the formula of getting yourself from a bad situation out. And then also it's a formula for you to continue to live your life, to live a full and a successful life.
And I encourage real quick, I encourage people too to, like, I don't do creative work, but we just went to New York to see a friend of ours sing. He's a playwright and a musician. And New York is full of craziness, but it's also full of art and such beautiful things that people can express themselves. So, outside of your work, make sure you're doing those creative things. I got to play the piano. I got to draw. I have a drafting table. I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
That feeds my soul, and I got to get back to that. So I think that to encourage people, that is so important. What really feeds your soul, to do that, even if it's a little bit at a time.
Yeah, because you are what you intake. You are what you eat. You know, you are what you read. You are what you watch, basically. But that's a whole nother episode.
I know.
So if anyone wanted to reach you or wanted to hear anything more about Star Capital Properties, how would they contact you?
Well, you can go through starcapitalproperties.com, all one word, and .com. I'm gonna get Shayla to link she'll have my logo, and if she wants to link anything, she can. But starcapitalproperties.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Give us some time. We're just starting out, but we do have a lot of knowledge. I know a lot. Just reach out, because we can explain it to you. We have investments that we're looking at right now. So we can always explain. So starcapitalproperties.com is the best place right now.
Okay.
You can go on there and request more information and put your information in if you wish. And we can reach out to you. Our contact information is also on there.
Awesome. And as someone who's come from multiple toxic work environments, you promise not to be a toxic work environment.
I promise. You have my word. It's now it's forever on video.
Well, we're going to wrap it up for this episode of Take Back Your Life, Conversations with Shay, where we help women overcome toxic thoughts, feelings, people, and situations by understanding and embracing their true identity in Christ in order for them to succeed and thrive. Thank you so much, Margaret, for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for overcoming your toxic work environment and being on the other side to be able to help others overcome their toxicity as well. Oh, really quick, please make sure, like, comment, share. If you know someone who is in a toxic work environment, make sure you give them this video. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.